Okay, look at this. Look at this. You see? Almost 20,000 photos taken. And I can scroll for all of them, obviously. And then when you look at the counter of how many more images I can still take, it shows 9,999. It didn't even move. And I can shoot like entire series. Let's do high-speed burst on my A9 III. You see, it's not moving. And look how fast it's copying the files. It's clearing the buffer. It does nothing to that card. So you might be wondering, what is this wizardy magic? What is this magic? So this is a new player in town, a Novachips. And this beast right here is their 1.6 terabyte CFexpress Type A 4.0 card. But hey, capacity is one thing. What really matters is performance, and this one, it actually delivers. It even says on the card, sus. Not for suspect, it stands for sustained speed. So let's dive in and I'll show you my results both in camera and when uploading files using my high megapixel Sony A1 II and ultra fast Sony A9 III. If you're new around here, what's up? I'm Magic. I'm a destination wedding photographer, and on this channel I talk cameras, lenses, accessories, and all things close to wedding photography. So if that's your jam, subscribe and please stay a while longer. Full disclosure, I met a team of Novachips earlier this year at WPPI. It was my first time hearing about them, and after a quick chat, I was genuinely curious to test their cards. They sent me 2 of them to try them out, and I've been using them for the last 2 months. They did not sponsor the video, and they haven't seen anything before publishing. I was like going back and forth in messages. I was giving them my opinion on this. And in this video, you're going to hear my honest thoughts and results as a working photographer. If you've seen anything here on my channel regarding memory cards, you know I am after the top speed possible, specifically uploading speed, transferring files back from the memory card to my computer just to speed up my workflow. And so far, I've been using like a bunch of different manufacturer memory cards. I'm not specifically tied to one. Recently, mostly I use Sony TAF cards as my SD cards. So for cameras that don't have CF Type A cards, I've used Sony TAF SD cards. And then I used Engelbert and OWC Atlas Pro for my A9 III cameras and other cameras that use CF Type A cards. And here is the thing, I made a video about this recently because we've seen a new wave of CF Type A cards, memory cards, CF marked as 4.0, which are almost double the speed of the previous CF Type A standard and 5 to 6 times faster than the fastest SD cards. But here is the catch. To get those speeds in camera, you need a camera that has CFexpress 4.0 slot. And the number of cameras that have one right now is, drumroll please, 0. But you do get a huge speed boost when offloading from these memory cards to your computers, so they're still worth considering getting if you're into speed. So these cards I'm testing here are 2 CFexpress 4.0 Type A cards by a Korean manufacturer called Novachips. Never heard of them? Same here, but turns out they've been around for over a decade as a OEM manufacturer for other big brands. So they were making these memory cards for some other brands and, under no brand at all. So now they're finally selling directly to customers, which is cool because they're offering a proven solution. They've been doing this for a while at a really solid price. The 1.6 terabyte card costs $320, which is the lowest price per gigabyte on the market right now. On the box, it says up to 1,700 megabytes per second read and 1,600 megabytes per second write. Those are peak max speeds. So it's a pretty standard marketing stuff, but what impresses me is what is printed on the card itself. It says 1,300 megabytes per second sustained write speed. So that's rare because most of the brands, they only show the peak performance, but sustained speed is where the real magic happens, especially when you're offloading large batches of data, because like over time, these cards, they get warm and they tend to slow down. And yes, this card actually hits those sustained numbers that they promised, which I will show you in a second. They also send me their CF Type A card reader, which comes in this nice pouch with 2 fast cables included. One is a short one and then one is a longer one. Both are the top speed cables, and that short one, actually, look at this. You might get like a little hint with this print on the back, is designed to work with your phone. That's why they made this short cable. So you put the memory card in here and you have external extra storage for your iPhone, which is a great thing to have. It's a nice bonus. Also, you can copy the files from the memory card to your phone. Like, there's tons of capabilities with a solution like this, which I absolutely love. So now, without further ado, let me show you the speeds, both in camera and then offloading with the Novachips 1.6 terabyte cards. This is what you see right now. This is a high-speed burst at 30 frames per second on Sony A1 II, shooting uncompressed raw files. So files that are roughly 100 megabytes each. You can take around 100 photos before the buffer is full, and then you see around 60 photos left to record on the card to clear the buffer, and it takes 8 seconds to clear it. I'm using the word around a lot because this is so fast and I'm not allowed to measure it. I'm a photographer, so based on like looking at this, I simply know how much I can shoot and how long I have to wait to clear the buffer. But speed-wise, clearing 60 photos in 8 seconds give us mathematically in-camera speed of 770 megabytes per second, and that's the limitation of the camera. Sony A1, which is the newest flagship Sony camera, just like the others, uses only CFexpress 2.0 standard, which maxes out around 750 to 800 megabytes per second. So this card could definitely do more, but the camera doesn't let us. So when Sony gives us finally maybe a new camera with CFexpress 4.0, we will like practically double that speed, like in-camera speed, but currently our max is what this camera can offer. Now, when using this card in the reader and copying 1000 raw images that are 75 gigabytes, like the whole folder is 75 gigabytes, the results I was getting were sustained 1000 to 1100 megabytes per second write, and then sustained 1300 megabytes read. So copying those 75 gigs takes less than a minute, which is extremely fast. It's important to mention though that these results are going to vary depending on your machine and operating system and, you know, like all the components of your system. I'm using almost 4-year-old MacBook M1 Max, and I've seen some other results on YouTube that are even faster than mine with these cards and that reader. And I assume that because of the newer or cleaner machine, because like operating system, so macOS load definitely affects those speeds, and maybe my system is not as fresh as it used to be. So that's one thing. But also you have to keep in mind that your max speed of like copying the photos from the card to your computer is going to be as fast as your slowest component. So if you're using a slower hard drive, maybe some external SSD that maxes out at half of that speed, that's what you're gonna get. Nevertheless, unlike some other cards that I've tested before, this Novachips CF Type A performs really well and very close to the sustained number that they promised. So it's a big thumbs up from me. Now, the last aspect is like, will you trust a new brand like this with your new memory cards? That's something that I feel everyone has to decide for themselves, because for me, the way I deal with it, with memory cards specifically, I always redistribute the risk. So I always shoot with 2 cameras, both of them have 2 memory cards, and if the card is new like this one, I will just not use 2 of them in both slots in one camera. So at the weddings that I've shot with these cards, I've had them in one of the slots, while having other cards that I've used in the past in other slots, just in case. And it worked flawlessly. I had zero issues using these cards in camera, no freezing the camera, no slowing down, nothing. Everything fast and smooth, just as you see in this test. So my real life example from like 2 months of using these is exactly as you see in this test. Everything fast and smooth as it should be. Also, I've used these cards in multiple different CF Type A card readers. I used Engelbert readers, I used the Novachips reader. The only thing that didn't work was using this card with OWC reader that is Type B, and it comes with the adapter from Type A to Type B. So there might be some adapter compatibility issue, I think. I'm letting you know because if you already own OWC Type B reader with the adapter and you're planning on getting these, you might need to consider getting a new reader, and I would just recommend the Novachips card reader. Other than that, I have to say this card definitely goes to the top of my recommendations list for memory cards, fast memory cards, spectacular performance at a really great price. And personally, I am going to continue using them on my Sony A9 Mark IIIs. And if you're wondering whether you need a CF Type A card or maybe you're good with SD cards for your Sony a7 IV or Sony a7R V cameras, make sure to check out my memory card guides for these cameras right here.